Greetings and salutations, fellow questioners. Tonight, I have brought on the infamous Paco, who asked, why am I okay with Bigfoot being a physical creature, but I have problems with aliens? And so the infamous, the seemingly and similarly infamous Dogman Marilyn Donny is here to referee.
That's my new name, folks.
Dogman DMD.
Hi.
DMD.
So let's have a clean fight, gentlemen. No hitting below the belt. No coarse language. This is going to be a clean and fair discussion on the nature of Bigfoot and aliens. Do we agree to the terms?
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen here. Yeah, you're lucky I don't have a giant vat full of Jello for us to be wrestling in. Oh. Actually, we should probably do that. We'd make so much money. Like at least $3. Like at least $3.
No.
Pay-per-view? You kidding? People would love that.
So remind me. So we started talking about this.
Yeah.
Right after one of your other podcasts, because you've only got like 17 million.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And none of them bringing in revenue. So hugs.
No, not a one.
But it was, correct me, which one were you on? It was
I think you were asking me. It was a mysterious library, I think.
Yes.
Right. Me and Dean we're talking about, again, the UAP hearings, and you're like, why do you have such a problem with this when you're okay with Bigfoot? Was sort of your take.
Yeah. All right, so I'll start. You know, my biggest thing is, and I've seen this a lot within kind of the entirety of the cryptid, and the differing communities of other paranormal issues, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's ghosts and ghouls, Bigfoot, Dogman, aliens, it's like we have to have our own belief and nobody else's. And I hadn't really seen it with you. I mean, I've known you for a while, and for those of us who were watching that know the other shows that we do or that we appear on, we go back quite a ways. And quite a way to sit there and say that we've seen enough stuff in our lifetime that makes us question. One of those events fairly recently, which I don't think outside of you and someone else who I will not name, but saw in the exact same spot what we saw. Like, what was it, 2 weeks later?
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks later. Yeah, 2
and
or 3 weeks later.
By the way. Much closer, by the way. We were kind of all freaked out by the same event. And, you know, I told Jason what I tell everyone when I see something that's questionable. This is what I saw. I don't know what it is. I don't characterize it anything other than outside of the normal term of a UAP or a UFO because it's unidentified. Doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial. It just means I don't know what it is. I couldn't see what it is. It doesn't sound or look like anything that would normally be of an aircraft or any type of propulsion system that we've seen or anything that you might have heard or read online. And after the UAP hearings, you know, and listening to Mysterious Libraries, Jason really swung hard into the fact that, well, we don't have any real proof of the matter. To which I said, let me get this straight. The man who believes in Bigfoot that we do not have definitive proof on has a problem with the definitive proof of a UAP hearing. And that's what kicked this whole thing off, was why do we have that? We jokingly, of course, first thing we brought up was flat earthers. I was like, of all the things that you could sit there and kind of pick on or go between, that's kind of even that category, right? Like, why should we pick on them? I am in no way advocating for the belief of a flat earth by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm also not going to sit there and say, well, look, we do have a ton of proof. We have a ton of evidence, and the science is out there. It's not a flat earth. But anything else that we come across in the playground that we have, it seems to always be this argument and fight amongst the other groups. Well, none of the groups truly and fairly have proof. So why this big defense for you on Bigfoot versus proof of aliens.
Mhm.
When all of it is circumstantial to begin with, one. Two, any evidence that you guys could produce is the same as the evidence of a UAP or UFO. So why have this argument? Why have such a belief that one is not the other? Or is this a misunderstanding? That's kind of where I was at with it.
Yeah. So this is where. Okay, so the UAP hearings, I want to put them to the side for just a second, but I do want to preface it with this. When we're talking about the UAP hearings, we are talking about what Grush is discussing versus the actual phenomena itself, right? Again, for those who've followed me for a while, and I've said this a lot on Front Porch and on this show when it was live over on Texas Front Porch, the channel, folklore is not phenomena, right? That's one of those things I like to say a lot because I do think we need to be able to say, well, hold on, there is a difference between what people say is seen and what people say they have seen, right? So the conversation on that specific episode was about the UAP hearing itself. As far as Bigfoot, right? Again, you're talking to a guy who believes that there is a good possibility for there being a physical creature, but that probably the majority of sightings are of a supernatural nature. That they are not. That's not really a Bigfoot that's being seen. Now, let me throw myself under my own bus on this one. I would suggest it's a potential failure on my part to think that a supernatural creature couldn't leave physical evidence. However, we have numerous, I mean hundreds of actual cast footprints that we can analyze that have dermal ridges. We have handprints and even some face prints on glass that again we have
The dog barking in the
not
background is
just
not the
images
only one
of.
complaining about your evidence.
Yeah.
All
Hold
I'm going
on.
to say.
Yeah. But we
No,
have
Donnie, don't leave
we
us.
have potential. Yeah. No, don't go, Dogman, Marilyn, Donnie. DMD, come back to us. What we've got a series of physical evidence that is observable publicly, right? Again, we don't know that it's from a Bigfoot, but it's consistent with sightings of the creature in the area at the time. We also have archaeological fossil evidence of a primate that was of a similar size, Gigantopithecus. There is ample reason to think from that, and again, a lot of the behavior that we see associated with Bigfoot is very primate-esque. So there's at least reason that has evidence that's physically available. You can review it yourself and say, okay, there's potential for there
reason
to
to
be this.
believe there is a large.
Sorry about that, guys.
No
No,
worries.
that's
We're just
okay,
letting
Dog
you
Man.
know
We
that.
know how you roll.
But to what you just said, what you just told me was there's belief of castings or whatever. All we've proven is that there is a potential misplaced orangutan or monkey or gorilla out there, or like we talked about, some type of mutation of a human, because seeing a foot that size between 16 and 20 inches is not uncommon in this day. It's just not.
Well,
Right?
but there are.
Show
Hold
you
on,
half.
but it's,
Show you half of the NBA, right? That could have that size foot. And to explain the breaks and everything else, whatever, it's again still possible that it's a different creature. When you brought up the physical evidence last time in our conversation, it's well warranted. I'm not arguing that. But most of the evidence that points with Bigfoot that we are to believe come from firsthand sightings, not secondhand, not, well, I know a friend who knows a friend, your folklore, right?
Yeah.
And what you're saying. We have that with UAPs and UFOs as well. We have that with legitimate aliens.
Well,
I'm
hold
not
on.
saying that one is correct. I'm just saying, again, it goes back to why be dismissive with those facts, but support the facts of what it is for a Bigfoot. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's where I get lost in. And I know you're about to explain this, but again, I'm still going to go back with, I really don't think, especially your favorite one for Bigfoot is the last done thing with the cells from a creature. right? Who y'all,
Yeah.
think everyone thinks could be Bigfoot. And my thing on that is because we have Bigfoot DNA already, and that's why it matches. No, you've just ruled out what it's not. You haven't ruled that it's a Bigfoot. It's the same thing with with aliens. We haven't ruled out what that is. We just know what it's not. We know what it's not. We don't know what it is.
Right.
There's no difference between the two. So why that rush to protect one, not the other?
Well, again, first of all, I'm not protecting one over the other. I'm just saying there's physical evidence to support the theory of a bipedal primate in North America and in other locations. But because again, hold on, those footprints, again, we can analyze them. We have hundreds of them to choose from, and they're clearly non-human. They have a vague human appearance. Here's my thing though. Where are your hundreds of casts of alien footprints?
Well, it's smarter than the orangutan that you guys got captured.
Yeah,
See what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like it sounds right. Like outside looking in, again, it
Right.
doesn't make any real sense.
Well,
You
hold
can
on.
tell
But
me that
again, so you said again, we have first person. We do have some video footage of Bigfoot, yes. But let's go to what we have on aliens, right?
we have some footage on aliens,
What we have,
whether
what
you
we
believe it
have.
to be or not.
No.
Right?
I'm right.
That's a
I
different
think
story.
there's no. I'm saying there's plenty of evidence of UFOs, right? There's plenty of videos of UFOs, and there's definitely some videos of weird things occurring, right? So right there with you. But here's what we don't have the same degree of physical evidence of the pilots themselves of these craft. We also have of first person encounters. We have hundreds and hundreds of people who have had their lives changed because they were being in the middle of an abduction experience and they called on the name of Jesus and it ends immediately, or they go through an exorcism and the phenomena stops in its entirety. We have even more accounts of people who, they won't claim Christianity or anything like that, but that they claim to be experiencers or abductees, and there is a close association with paranormal phenomena, shadow people, poltergeist
Bigfoot's
activity.
a shadow person now?
No, I'm talking about the aliens or the UFOs. That's what but again, to my point, I'm the one who's famously said, if you wake up and there's a shadow and there's a shadowy, tall being with red glowing eyes at the end of your bed, it's a shadow person. You step out of your tent and there's a giant shadowy figure with red glowing eyes that magically becomes a Bigfoot, right? So I'm the first one to say that I do believe that a lot of what's happening and what's called Bigfoot is just not Bigfoot at all. In fact, there's a ton of parallels. In fact, I'm going to have Joshua Cutchins on the show in a few weeks, sometime in September, trying to nail down his very busy schedule. We're going to talk about one thing we're going to talk about is the similarities between a lot of Bigfoot lore and Fae lore. That there's a lot of overlap as far as what's believed, what people observe, things that are ascribed to them. So I am saying, hey, I think a lot of what people call Bigfoot just ain't Bigfoot. I just hold out the possibility for there being a very small population of bipedal apes. My issue with the UFO phenomena is, again, before we get back to the UAP stuff itself, on the overall phenomena, I do think there's a physical aspect to a lot of this. Absolutely. Because there is clearly people seeing something. They're having, I'm not saying, I've never said any of these people are making up or lying. I think some people do. But there's enough, hey, something's going on here. My only thing is, what's the evidence for it being an extraterrestrial? Is it because they told you? Well, everyone who's really looked into this, I mean, particularly the original researchers, they've all come out and said, hey, whatever these things are, they are not what they appear to be. They're lying to you.
I love that, because nobody could lie to me about seeing a 10-foot tall furry creature.
Oh, I'm telling you that, yeah.
I'm going to give you two
first
numbers.
of all, you're the 10-foot tall furry creatures you see are at those furry conventions you go to.
Probably so. But I'm going to give you two numbers, okay?
All right.
3,583. Do you know what that number represents?
Is it the number of porn sites you visited last week?
No, it's way lower than that.
Okay.
3,583 are the number of Bigfoot sightings since the mid-19th century. Let me give you another number, okay? 10,540. You know what that is?
Go for it.
That's the average yearly of UFO UAP sightings.
Yes.
what I'm saying is, again, why have that argumentative discussion between the groups on what you would? And I know you won't die on that molehill. I mean, I know you won't. Like, I know you well enough personally to know that you'll have this discussion just because you want to have the discussion. You know, I've called you just to irritate you for a full hour, knowing I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I
but
know.
I just like doing that. But this is a serious thing where it's like, why is it that community, as small as it is, you know, and then you want to fraction that out even further? It's the same thing we talk about with the comic book community, right? You are so joined as a community, but then you want to sit there and start having fractions. Well, you're not really a fan unless you watch Game of Thrones. Well, you're not a fan if you don't know what happened with the original Spider-Man series. You're not a fan. You're not a fan. You're not a fan. So much so that we coined the term on our other show at the very first episode. Well, that's not my Batman. Why have that huge split for the community if you guys aren't big enough to sustain on your own as it is? What is that push? What is that despise? I don't want to say
it's UFO people, Jason.
Yeah, there you go. He has no comment.
Hey, I thought you were supposed to be the referee here.
I'm just saying, we got
don't take his side. What are you doing here?
I'm just saying.
Okay. That is a great question.
The proof for one over the other in first person experiences is greatly higher by leaps and bounds than that of what you're trying to defend. Go.
Well, 2 points here. One, I've never said that this phenomena isn't real. That's my entire point, is that it is a real phenomena. If the question is why don't I believe it's alien? Because I've got plenty of reasons to not think that it's alien. It's too closely associated with the paranormal. Again, I'm sorry, but if aliens are freaking out because you say the name of Jesus, I got questions. Why? That's just 100%, my point.
I 100% understand what you're saying, but
I have a different theory on that though, because I think aliens bounce when they hear the word Jesus, because they'll be like, "Yo, this dude's snitching on us." we can't have Jesus paying attention to what we're doing.
They know Jesus.
Yo, this guy knows Jesus. He's calling the manager. He's calling in the manager now. Okay, we gotta leave. We gotta. And then the other aliens are like, "Man, can't you guys get some like atheist abductees next time? Why you gotta get all these Jesus freaks up in here? They're gonna get all this unwanted attention on us.
Yeah, you're gonna get us in trouble, dude."
Or for that matter, I'll go one better. I'll compromise with you. How come Bigfoot isn't Chewy and he was doing an Uber space delivery and he just crashed, and the famous photograph, which has now been proven not true, of him walking through was him going, "Oh crap, I'm stuck on this backwards planet and I got to get out of here." It's like, I got a camera? Oh, I got to walk faster. I got to get out of here. Like, is he calling like Space AAA? Like, what's he doing?
Well, first of all, he may be calling Space AAA, and there are people who believe that Bigfoot are aliens, like straight up. Like that's a part of.
That's a corner I want to get involved in.
See, that's my theory, though. I actually think Bigfoot is just a homeless alien who's too broke to afford his own UFO. Yeah. Bigfoot needs a job.
You know what? Bigfoot is this. Bigfoot was Clark Griswold of his sector. Took his family on a vacation, and his ship broke down. And now they're stuck here because we're the Detroit of the area. That's what that is. Roll up, and they're trying to roll back up the window so they don't get shot. I'm just saying, to your point of there being beliefs of people who think that is exactly what he could be or is.
Yeah.
Why have that disassociation to other like-minded individuals?
So that's your. Now the better question is, why is there such division?
Yeah.
Honestly, and for a lot of people, these beliefs are a replacement for religion. This is when you talk about UFOs or Bigfoot or Dogman, you are talking about their religion. It's not a science to them. It's not necessarily the pursuit of whatever, I just want, again, I don't care what Bigfoot is, or I just want to know what the phenomena is. So because I believe once we know what that is, we can place it in our, it's like, okay, cool, here it is. Let's move on with our lives. For all of it.
Would you?
I just want to know what the phenomena is. What the phenomena is.
But would we? in any given situation where an answer to a phenomenon is provided and it's true, untrue, whatever, do we move on? Right? Like that's the big thing with a lot of the communities, right?
Yeah.
If okay, take everything else away from the UAP hearings, okay? And we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
The fact that Congress held a congressional hearing to discuss UAP matters, that same attention has never been given to discuss the facts of Bigfoot matters.
Well,
There is a difference in this.
Mhm.
If this hearing happens, I won't even say 30 years ago, let's say 20 years ago,
Mhm.
right? Maybe 23 years ago. This is a different, complete
Oh yeah.
response from the public. So either we
Mhm.
just stop caring, right? Or we're numb to it, which also very possible.
Yeah.
Or we're ignoring the truth. Now, we've discussed this again, and like you discussed it with is his name Ben?
Dean.
Not Ben. Dean, yeah.
Dean.
I absolutely agree that there were some shady characters that were present that day that don't evoke a lot of trust in how things are presented. 100% agree with that. There's a lot of shady characters in each one of these, to your point, religions, right? Because now basically what we're comparing this to is Catholicism versus baptism versus you name it, right? Christianity. And they're trying to find their spot. Like again, though, they're so small. It's so tiny. Why do that? Why not embrace everything as a whole? I'm not even saying not to embrace it in the manner of it could be something that is very spiritual or demonic or anything how you want to put that. I'm not even ruling that out, but be together on it. And again, when you were bringing up that point last week, that's where this whole thing came about, was because it's like, well, why are you crapping on this, but you're gung-ho for this? It doesn't make any sense. Now, granted, to your point earlier,
well,
could have
but
just
again,
been the
to put it back into perspective, though, yeah, it's the hearings, right? Again, I think the problem again with the UAP hearings, what we have is you can't take the context out of that situation. Who's talking? Who's being talked about? What is that? What is the governmental context? You can't take that out of it. And there has been a very deliberate attempt by the United States government and the intelligence agencies since the late 70s, early 70s to create, what Dean calls it the X-Files idea, right? That
the
Roswell happened. We gathered up this information and we've been, well, not necessarily, but the idea that the government has all this secret knowledge and we have these, this is very much created in the late 70s, early 80s by the government. It was like, oh no, these were researchers. We know publicly a lot of these researchers have come out and said, yeah, I was working with the government. Others haven't, but we've got real good reason to think that they were assets.
So,
Again,
would you say that
we have an entire episode called
real quick,
Sorry,
then would you say that there's more outright deception in the UFO field than there is in the cryptid Bigfoot field? Like outright deception, like intentional disinformation?
I would say that, I would say honestly I would say that the UFO community has been subject to far more governmental pressure because there's far more reason for the government has utilized the UFO phenomena for years. Because again, there is a real phenomena, straight up. I'm saying that there is, but they've used it for a long time to cover black projects, a lot of their experiments, things like that. So it's just been more advantageous for them to actively manipulate the UFO community than the cryptid community. Because what does it matter? Again, if there is a Bigfoot, what does it matter to the government? Right? It doesn't affect them in any way. Now, so you can argue things like logging and
probably depends on the sector that's reviewing it. And I'm only half kidding about that.
Right.
Because as we've now come to know that,
yeah.
But let's not put that to the side either. One of the things that they're talking about, one of the things that was mentioned at the UAP hearings, and I'm sorry to bring that up all the time, but it's just the thing that's fresh, right? Like if not, we can talk about the 1996 Brazil incident where, but it's, they're one of the things that, first off, I love the keywords that were used in it, which specifically went out of their way not to have anything said about extraterrestrial or aliens. Specifically, we have non-human biologics that
Right.
have been
Oh yeah.
retained by us. That's a whole open field, right? Like, heck, we might have caught someone's space monkey and it came back, but it's technically an alien. They were very careful on that. But one of the things, the other, that kind of went with it was the fact that they are probably investigating and do have an open division. In fact, the new division that was just formed wasn't in regards to like Space Force or whatever, but it was actually in regards to phenomena. They did not put a classification on UFOs or anything.
Yes.
It's a branch that's going to deal with phenomena. What does phenomenon mean? Well, it's phenomenon. That's a really big category. It's a really broad word to use.
Right.
So I have no doubt that there's someone who, once someone says, oh, we got Bigfoot, there's someone in a suit that's going to be showing up, or someone with stripes that are going to be showing up to figure out, like, okay, what does this creature do or not do? So I don't think necessarily saying that who cares in the government if Bigfoot's real. I think you're going to have a lot of people caring about that, because what else is real? What else can we find to?
Well, no, and that's a valid point. People have talked about for decades that the National Park Service and Forest Service have actually been intervening and had to cover up the existence of these things. There's theories around that as well. But my broader point is we don't see the same level of active manipulation. Let me rephrase this. Let me say it this way. To our knowledge, we don't see the same level of active manipulation as we have with a very specific narrative, like we have with the UFO community versus the cryptid community. So again, maybe they are. Maybe there's just as many agents, maybe half the researchers out there are OSI agents, and they're or former CIA, and this is just their side gig or whatever. Maybe that is the case. Tom Slick, Tom Slick, one of the guys who created cryptozoology, he literally was doing work for the CIA. In fact, cryptozoology and ornithology being the study of birds, but cryptozoology was also used as a cover by intelligence officers when they're going into places like China, to Tibet, to study, to go for looking for the Yeti, right? Again, I think the Yeti is there, but the simple fact of the matter is that was a cover that a lot of that people used was, well, we're looking for the Yeti. What they were really doing was looking for, they were spies, and which is why they were able to be the reason ornithology was used all the time is good, big, powerful photographic lenses. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a bird. Yeah, I'm an ornithologist. We're studying this bird. Ian Fleming named James Bond because it was the name of an ornithologist. It was a nod to the fact that the CIA and other intelligence officers used those things as a cover for spycraft of the time. So again, maybe cryptozoology is just as manipulated as the UFO community, but it's just we don't know that it is. Let me throw that out there. But
I would find it hard to believe that the government doesn't have their hands in just about everything. And that's, God, I'm sitting here saying this on a podcast that I hope no one's watching. No offense.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No one's watching.
But I think that's kind of the feel of the American people now too. It's like, what don't they have a hand in? What don't they have a part of control? But again, I brought up the Brazil incident in '96, where technically we did have proof, but again, everything's yanked away from the government, and you have enough people who are repeating the same instances and stories of this little town that it's, we've always talked about it, right? There are some manipulations that just don't happen because there's no way in the world you could get that many people to go along with some story, right? The same story. And that's an incident where they don't want to talk to each other, much less anybody else. And oh gosh, who did the video? Moment of Contact, I think, was the documentary that was on it as well.
Oh yeah.
And it's, you see these people, talk about this incident, and it's, if it's
school
active,
children in
it's
Africa,
fantastic.
Yeah,
school children in Africa, right?
Right.
The Australia event in 1956 or 66, somewhere along those lines, where it was.
I believe it was 66, but I'm terrible with numbers.
Yeah. So you have these individuals who say they've seen stuff, and they all kind of have the similar story. I think probably the most known would be the whole Bob Lazar story, which I don't honestly know how to feel one way or the other about that. You know, if he's telling the truth, it's fantastic in its story. But if he's lying to keep the story and that much account going for this long, now well over 30 years, and not changing a beat, passing lie detector test, it's pretty impressive, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's those things. I think the latest thing I read, and I'm sure, do not get me wrong, I'm not saying this is true by any belief, but one of the reasons that someone came out and said that they did the UAP hearings is because they're getting ready to finally fully address the world with this phenomenon, right? In the year 2027. Anything's possible, right? Like Jason, I've talked to you. We have our own theories on the potentials for UFO, but honestly, as large as this space is in this vast universe that we have, I think two things for sure. One, I think it's egotistical to think we're the only other intelligent beings in the universe. I think that's very dangerous of us, but we're humans, so what else is new? But two, it's also would be a very lonely existence if we didn't have anything else out there. Whether this is what we see or not, whether any of these 10,000 plus sightings a year are real or not, what we've witnessed before is real or not, I don't know. I like to think it is. I would. But I would hope it would be without malicious intent, and that's something that I don't think anyone could really say one way or the other until we actually find out.
Yeah, that's what I think about what you said. No, so let me come back with again. We have an entire episode asking why
hitting below
Bob
the
Lazar...
belt, Jason. You're hitting below the belt.
No, my sneeze was well above the belt.
Hey,
right here.
That's a point. It's a point.
That's a
Happens
point.
again, you're going to get disqualified. Okay.
You're going to get a yellow card, my friend.
These are sports terms, Jason. Are you okay? Do you understand these terms as they were given to you?
Didn't they use that in the Karate Kid? So I'm good. I'll just sweep.
Actually, I was referencing Pride Fighting Championships. Whenever like a fighter would kick another fighter in like the balls, the ref would take out a yellow card and be like, foul.
Can we sidestep real quick? I love watching MMA. It's a blast, especially now since the kiddo is doing martial arts. But early MMA, clearly remember.
Pride was
you could just that one guy who got nailed probably 20 times by the same guy in a 1 minute span right in the crotch.
That was Joe Son. That was Joe Son. That guy wound up going to prison.
But I was gonna say, but didn't he wind up not the one that hit because he did the hit, right?
The guy who got hit a bunch of times with balls,
right? But didn't he get back up and just level the guy?
No, he lost that fight.
I thought he still.
You get hit 20 times in the crotch. I imagine you're losing that fight.
Yeah, he lost that
early
fight.
MMA though, man. You would be surprised the amount of pain they would take and still win the fight.
Yeah.
Right. Like even now, there's still instances of those, but back
that dude
then,
must have punched him there like 20 times. You could see those things jiggling, man.
Oh, I mean, he didn't have them afterwards. Like I think he actually spit one out when he got up.
The guy went on to star in Austin Powers and then wound up going to prison. So
what do you go to prison for? Murder?
No, sexual assault.
Well, close enough. Close enough.
Yeah.
Someone was still pounding his nuts in jail too,
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Anyway, so again,
really quick, Donnie, is that the only time sports has ever been talked about on this?
I think it has.
Good. I like to be part of that first.
There you go. So again, let's go back to there is a real phenomenon. So there's obviously the stuff that the government's doing. That's secret craft things. Whatever. That's that. There is a real phenomena, right? The question is, why can't it be extraterrestrials? Well, here's my thing. I've got no problem with space, the final frontier. Could there be intelligent life out there? Sure, why not? I don't see that we have a lot of intelligent life around here, so why would we speculate that it's out there anyway? However, it's
And how could we not think that after, and I know people are going to be like, oh my God, this guy's an atheist. I'm not. I'm actually Christian. But how can we not think that once Adam took the bite of the apple and we fell into sin, God goes, all right, you know what? Let's start somewhere else one more time. One more time. Let's see if these creations can get it right. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
So again, is the universe full of life? Probably. Intelligent life? I don't care. Not really my issue. If God, you said we're not alone. There's the entire ecosystem of supernatural entities that show we're not alone. Now, the question is, if there was intelligent life out there, would they hop in their space Buick and come here to probe you? I'm going to go with probably they got better things to do. That's my thing, right? I just don't see them.
We can't
if you've
assume
got the technology.
But time out. But if we're seen as the animals of the planet, how is that any different than what our veterinarians do or our doctors do, trying to figure out what the species is? Why would that be any different to someone going through space? They stop and it's like, what are these things? Are they tasty? What can they give us? What can they provide? I mean, doing a medical research on a biological being that you found, let's not act like if we go to space, we're not going to be doing the same thing. Something tells me.
Right. No, but here's my thing. If they can get here, they're so far more advanced, we would never know that they were here. That's my
true.
thing. There is so much about, there's so much about the abduction phenomena itself. Again, not what people say is seen, what the people who claim that they are abducted go through. And let's get rid of the ones where you have the paranormal phenomena. Let's get rid of the ones where you have the people saying, hey, I called out for help from Jesus and they all magically disappeared. You still have behavior that doesn't really match up. Even the guy who wrote Communion, whose name just escaped me, Whitley Strieber, he himself admits, he's like, these things are probably not what we're seeing them as, is not what they really are. His wife even said, whatever this is, it is connected to what we call death. There is such a high correlation between...
Time out. Why?
That's a great question. Well,
I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah. Well, again, that's just one of these things she wrote in a letter about her experiences with him. A lot of people have written.
Time out.
Who? Whitley Strieber. That's her husband. So
they experienced this abduction together. Yes.
Him more. Yes. But she's also living with him, experiencing things with him. John Keel
says it's closer to death.
Well, no, she says she believes it may have something to do with what we call death. She's not. Her whole point was maybe this thing isn't what we think it is at all. John Keel said the same thing. We don't know that people who are going through these experiences are, if we could objectively view them, are they being loaded onto a craft and taken off somewhere, or is it like a trance? Is this a metaphysical event? Nick Redfern, who is on the Ancient Aliens show, has famously
I liked him.
Who we know, has famously come out and talked about and said, hey, a lot of these encounters, a lot of these sightings where you have the creatures feel staged. They don't feel like, oh, we just happen to catch them. It feels like, oh no, like the aliens are like, oh no, we've been seen, quickly, let's retreat. It feels staged. My issue is we have we have the same phenomena of abductions, time loss being associated with creatures that clearly aren't aliens. They ain't grays. And we have people claiming to see things that look very similar to grays when they are in shamanic, using shamanic hallucinogens, DMT.
Explain shamanic hallucinogens.
Okay, things
Explain
like
it to us that may or may not know.
Okay, shamans. You know what a shaman is, right? Witch doctor. Okay. oftentimes in the use of rituals they use things like ayahuasca, peyote, other forms of hallucinogenic drugs. And in many cases, both shamans and people who just have decided to take it recreationally, because that's what you do now, they describe creatures very, very similarly to greys. There are people who have near-death experiences. They describe creatures looking like greys. There are Lamb, the demon that taught Aleister Crowley the old Enochian magics. He drew it. It looks very similar to what we would call a gray. The issue that I have is with the UAP stuff is if we all had a friend whose wife had been caught cheating on him like 8 times, and she turns up pregnant, we're not going to look at him and say, yeah, it's probably your kid. We're going to say, you get yourself checked right now, right? Okay. So when it comes to
don't bring my private life into it, because we all know that baby wasn't mine.
Right. Uh-huh. But my point is with the UAP stuff is like, why would we? It's not just him. And again, maybe Grush, I said this, maybe Grush believes everything that he's saying and he's on the up and he thinks he's fighting for right. It doesn't mean, because he said very explicitly, all of the information that he has about these things came secondhand, right? We don't know that he wasn't manipulated into it. My opinion on Grush is irrelevant. The point is, with the UAP stuff is we have known liars, and the people associated with them are known liars. Why would we trust what they are saying when there has clearly been an agenda behind it? As far as the actual phenomenon itself, the really weird stuff, also Keel, Valet, Redfern, many people, Dean, the illustrious Dean, Dr. Dean Bertram, plenty of people have looked at this and said, hey, there is ample reason to think that whatever the real phenomenon is, it isn't what it's pretending to be. There's way too much overlap with Fey lore, Jinn, any other demonology. You hit it. It looks different in every culture, but it's damn near the same thing. It's just dressed up for the modern age. So my thing would be, where's the evidence that they are extraterrestrials from another planet that God was like, hey, let's try again and don't screw this up? We don't have evidence for that, but we do have sufficient reason to say, hey, maybe these things are lying to us and they aren't what they claim to be. And there's a lot of evidence to say maybe this is supernatural and spiritual and not necessarily just aliens from another planet. Again, I'm not saying that doesn't mean there isn't a physical component to it. I'm very open to the idea that a lot of these, again, non-governmental craft are real, actual craft, that there are biological entities piloting them. I just don't think they're naturally occurring creatures from another planet that just wanted to go on a beer run.
First off, the fact that you can now deliver beer in Texas is fantastic.
I know.
Secondly,
excellent move there.
Thanks. Secondly, I don't see any difference then in that or Bigfoot. Right?
Well,
Same
again,
thing. In fact, I believe one of the.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much I can say on this because I don't know what you want out, but let me say it this way: I believe on one of the Bigfoot excursion attempts, it very much mimicked that of what you just got through discussing, as opposed to that of creature
we've had,
you were hunting.
Well, and again, I've talked about that publicly, and this goes back to my point, which is why I don't think a lot of Bigfoot encounters are Bigfoot. I think the vast majority are supernatural. That's why I lead with that. I just hold open the possibility for there being a naturally existing creature because we have a body of evidence that is large enough to suggest that there is a physical creature. However, I also stipulated that it may be my biases. I just think if it's taking a dump in the woods and it's eating pigs, it's probably an organic, natural, but that's my bias. I flat out said that's my bias.
But you really haven't found the bear that shits in the woods, right? Like, there's not Bigfoot poo out there.
No. Hold up. No. There is a man who.
You're going to talk about something that is not human. Not that it could be anything else. You've just sat there and said, I've got proof on what it's not. Not that it is. There is a complete different thing. If I ask
Correct.
you a yes or no question and I say, is it Bigfoot and can you prove it? Your answer has to be no, because it's not. When it becomes no, but you're now offering an excuse, not an actual guideline
No.
for what you're following.
So most
And
evidence
really quick,
yeah.
we've been talking nonstop. Donnie, what's your take on this, man?
I think they're all real, and I think Bigfoot should be eradicated.
That's his next episode, by the way.
That's my opinions are quite simple and clear.
Why
I think
eradicated?
aliens are on the planet. I
He's
think
got
they're
a whole-
from Theta Reticuli. I think this is an intergalactic tourist destination, and they're coming here and they're gawking at us. Some people don't want to believe that they gawk at us because
We're
they
the
don't wanna believe
Alabama of
that
the
we're
universe.
gawkable, but
Mhm.
we are
he's
the trailer
working-
park of the Milky Way.
Dude, don't waste all your stuff here. You've got a whole show for that. Like
Yep.
he's going to do this. Like he's got a whole show. Dude, don't spoil that here. This is the tease. Go watch Donnie Says Stuff after
Yeah.
this episode.
I'm not
Because-
interested in Bigfoot's nature. I just want to know how they die and make them die. That's all I want to do.
Well, not too many know, but there
Yeah.
can be only one.
Yeah, I
But you have to
believe Bigfoot.
decapitate him.
I believe Bigfoot exists. My interest is in making him not exist. Is all.
You want to make him pay for his crimes against God and man, don't you, Donnie?
It's unnatural. It doesn't belong in our woods. That's all I gotta say.
See,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I'm saying.
It's time to do the Lord's work, my friends.
I wish I had my other katana in here because it actually looks like it's based off of the McLeod katana.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I, the fact that we actually can both say that and say, if I go get the katana, scary stuff.
although honestly, for something that big and the bone structure would have to be that heavy, you'd really want something more like a chainsaw or even like like one of those rope saws where you can. Because I mean, that's got to be.
So Donnie's the hero off this because you started with a defense of Bigfoot. Donnie's now got you talking about the death of Bigfoot and how much it can happen.
Oh no, I'm all about the body.
That is full circle, my friends.
Exactly. So again, hold on. If Donnie's right and they can be killed, then that means there's a real thing. I win.
No.
Okay, can I point out there is one difference I did kind of realize about between Bigfoot and UFOs is that I feel like a lot more people want UFOs to be real because in a lot of ways, the way you bring it up, like as if it was a religion, people see that as a source of hope, right? They're these intergalactic extraterrestrial big brothers with better technology and knowledge that if they are cool and they come to us and they offer this hope of, people always say, oh man, we're going to have green energy. These aliens clearly know green energy. They're not using fossil fuels to power their UFOs. Once they get cool with us, then we'll have green energy.
So
They got laser guns. Bigfoot's not offering green energy or laser guns or the solution
No,
to
he's
human
not.
economics.
it sounds like a book that's about to be written or published. That's what it sounds like to me. Jason, I don't know if you're following this, but I think that could happen.
It does. It does sound awfully familiar.
Sounds
Doesn't
oddly
it, Raymond?
familiar, doesn't it?
It really does. It sounds like something that would be in a comic format.
I don't know. Just I don't know. Maybe wait a couple more months. I don't
See,
know.
if it turns out that Bigfoot is real, right? Let's say the president comes out on TV, does a press conference, and announces to the world, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Bigfoot is 100% real. I wonder how much that really changes things, right? It doesn't change I guess it will change the way people approach going into the national forests, but
It
with regards
depends
to,
on
like-
which presidency announces it, because I think the current presidency, someone would just be like, "Did someone forget the medication again?"
Yeah.
I think that would
Was
be the
it too
bigger
much of
question.
was it too much of the nose candy or not enough of the nose candy? That's all I want to know.
Them announcing Bigfoot is real, I don't see really changing the stock market in any meaningful way. Whereas if they come out and say aliens are real, I bet you there's going to be some kind of swing in the stock market.
But so I'm glad you said that. And Jason, I know you were trying to keep this out for under an hour, but Donnie touched on something that's very important right there. It should disrupt the markets.
Yeah.
But they did have a discussion, and it was a congressional hearing, and nothing happened. Not a thing happened.
That's a great point, and it's because we've been programmed to accept it. Again, before the year 2000, you can point to a handful of movies that and television shows that had ancient alien concepts in it, or ancient astronaut theory concepts, right? Your Star Wars it was kind of built in there. The X-Files, obviously. Quatermass in the Pit. Like there's a few things that you can definitely point to. Okay, here's the ancient astronaut theory stuff in there, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the reality. But post 2000, every major multi-billion-dollar franchise, with the exception of like the Fast and the Furious, has some allusion to.
No. They went to space this past couple of movies.
Okay, okay, then there you go. But every multi-billion-dollar franchise has had at least one major allusion to ancient astronaut theory. Even friggin' Ice Age, the kids' shows, had in there the first one, right? Marvel, they went again. Thor is an actual god in the comics, and yet when they introduce Thor, he's introduced as an alien, and that he doesn't have magic. His people don't use magic; they use advanced technology. All of that is in these films, Transformers, whole 9 yards. We have had 20 years of being told, and again, the X-Files primed everyone in the 90s. X-Files was a huge television show in the 90s. These ideas get out there. We're enculturated to it. The reason they've trickled this stuff out is to, again, persuade us subconsciously of the reality of these things. Again, we've talked about things, the MK Ultra project never really ended. It just evolved. These stupid Black Mirror things are the end result of it. They know how to manipulate us on a mass scale psychologically. So again, is it because, well, aliens are real and extraterrestrials are real and they just want to get so that everything doesn't freak out? Or is it because they have an alternative, nefarious agenda? Maybe they don't even have the agenda, but the creatures themselves have the nefarious agenda. Again, I don't think that they are what they claim to be. The point is, though, the reason people didn't freak out is because everyone already thinks it's real. The vast majority of people were already like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd
even
agree
the
with those
normies
numbers.
are kind of like, yeah, I kind of figure it.
But I don't think I'd agree with those numbers. I don't think you can sit there and say the vast majority. I really don't. I think really, I'm sitting here listening to you. I was listening to Donnie, and I'm thinking about it. And I think what it really boils down to is that we really don't care about what goes around in Congress anymore, because we don't see it as a legitimate point of view anymore, right? I mean, it's either trying to tear apart or concerned just about stuff that only affects the 1% of us. It's about stuff that is there special interest groups, whatever. I think we stop caring. I think it's a different story if again, if a UFO pops in the middle of a city, broad daylight, and I think that's what causes the markets. I think that's what just everything stops is when you have that first real, no denying
massive,
it's there. That's what it'll be. I mean, right now we're hearing the stories from them. I think one of the things that they had brought up on the UAP hearings was that there was one of them was three football fields wide, almost a small city type ship that they had saw. Where, when? Well, it was really kind of on a government base. So you've already rolled out most of the population that can see it. What else happened? Well, it was there and it kind of did some stuff. Well, what did it do? Well, it's classified.
Yeah.
But pop it in the middle of New York, Dallas, Chicago,
New York,
broad
maybe
daylight,
over the UN building.
Something like that. Like, it's going to grab people's attention, and it's going to, that's when I think, to your point, Donnie, everything stops for that moment, because there's no denying it at that point. Whether it's a real extraterrestrial event, or, to Jason's point, a more of a phenomenon that borderlines upon spirituality or anything like that.
Or just a straight up hoax.
Or just a straight up hoax, because that's always a possibility too. I mean, my God, you look at what just opened in Vegas, the Sphere.
Oh yeah, the Sphere. Yeah, that thing's weird. I still believe. I still don't think
where people are driving. I don't know how that's not a problem for traffic.
Oh yeah,
I'm
no,
looking
that
at the
thing freaks
pictures
me
and I'm
out.
like freaking out. Like, I can't do that. Let me drive straight. Where are you going? I'm heading to the Earth. It's fantastic, but I'm going back to it. If
Apparently
you can do
Mordor
that,
because it's a giant eye. Like what the heck?
yeah, if you can do that, why couldn't you pull a hoax? And no matter what, again, everything would stop still. It would stop still. We're sitting there worried about the UFO phenomenon, and it's not like Ukraine and Russia are over right now, right? And no matter who or what story or side you fall on the belief of all the background stories that are going on right now about that, there are still people dying. That's the bottom line. There are people here who are dying every day from heart attacks, suicide, drug overdoses. It's going to take a world-shaping event to stop everything. Or again, to that point, you do have a press conference held at night, and they just come out and say, "Yeah, here we go. This is it. This is real. We're trying to figure out how to work through it." Yeah, that would stop it too.
Yeah, for me, like I avoided watching the hearings for me because it was just too cringe. Like listening to all these like Washington types trying to talk seriously about UFOs. Do you know what the feeling I got was when I tried watching it? It was like watching two people who had never gotten into a fight get into a fight. And it's like you don't even want to pull them apart because their fighting is so bad and embarrassing that you don't even want to be associated with them. So you just kind of just pull backward into the crowd and be like, "Oh, okay, let's see these two people just swing it wildly in the air."
I think
That's what it feels like to me when I watch that.
Jason made the most, I think, sincere and yet poignant argument of that. When AOC is one of the people asking the most basic but important questions of the entire thing, is like, I don't know where to begin. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm agreeing with AOC. Like, that's crazy.
Something's
and I'm
wrong.
not saying that she's. Let me figure out how to say this. I'm not for or against, right? Like, not in any which way, form, or shape. All I'm saying is, you have that many intelligent people in the room, and only a couple are actually addressing actual issues on what's being talked about. That's the problem I have with the hearings.
Yeah. Well, again, it goes back to we have liars with a history of lying, and not just lying, but straight up manipulation
on both sides.
On both sides
of that hearings.
Right, on both sides. Again, people doing the test, and everyone is like, if I'm in a room full of liars, I'm not going to believe what you're telling me. And again, particularly when there's been an agenda that's been around for a long time. Again, Bigfoot ain't got no agenda. He just wants to hang out. And he's just waiting for Donnie to come knocking on his door, and it's going to go down.
I will tell you the best thing I ever heard. It comes from Futurama, and it's when, like, hey, you're searching for Bigfoot. Why don't you just put up a bunch of cameras in the forest? And he was like, yes, excellent question. Number one, because that would be really, really expensive. And number two, those of us who search for Bigfoot are very, very poor. It's like, that's why we're never going to catch them.
Well, so hold on. People are doing that. There are things that are being caught, but again, which goes back to, hey, some of this stuff is actually weirder than we think. I can't say any more than that.
Why?
I'm not.
I'm not one of those people that you're going to be like, oh, this is how he's going to end up. No. Tell me why you can't say any more than that.
Because the information I have is that at this point, privileged. It will come out eventually, but I can't say it
right now. You're no different than sitting at that hot seat in the congressional hearing of UAPs. Why should I believe you?
Yeah, man, you're like AOC, but less pretty.
First of all, I am hotter than AOC. You take that back.
No, you're not.
Did you see that video of her dancing on the roof? She's a cutie pie. I don't care what you think about her politics. I date her.
Yeah. We've had this discussion. Yeah. I'm with Donnie on this.
Yeah. No.
But seriously though, you saying that, like, and I'm not just talking about you, but when anybody who's being interviewed with that mindset goes, well, I've seen stuff. No, you haven't. There's no proof. Well, I've seen the proof. Share it. And if you're going to say, well, I can't because it's about to come out, it's no different than that person on the hot seat.
Except the stuff I'm talking about will actually come out.
Okay, when?
Well, when the documentary's finished. And
when is the documentary finished?
well, I'm
Do you
not in
see
the
what I'm
production.
saying? Do you see what it sounds
I
like?
understand. Right?
Yeah.
No, I get it. I'm just saying. Here's the difference.
Donnie, is that the technical right there? Is that the third drop on him?
It's pretty aggressive.
Just saying.
You're flurrying him in the corner.
I just don't have the date yet. It's being worked on. Okay, so hold on. No. Sasquatch or Bigfoot: The Legend Meets Science 2, which is being worked on right now. It did. The Kickstarter was completed. It made the deal. They're working on it. They are getting amazing stuff, and it will come out. I just am not on that side of the production. I don't know what the estimated time is. They are releasing interesting stuff that is coming out, but they're obviously saving the best for that. But again, Bigfoot Legend Meets Science, the first one, there's material in there. Hold on. You said no. Hold on. There is, again, going back to Bigfoot, there is public information, public data that's there. You something you said at the beginning though was that Patterson Gimlin's been proven false. By whom? People who've actually looked at it. You said that picture
didn't they just do?
I'm putting my referee card down right now. No Patterson Gimlin debating on this episode. We're going to go down too deep of a rabbit hole, out of bounds. Let's take it back to the center of the ring. Okay, none of that Patterson Gimlin talk. Okay,
Ref,
we're not going there.
I thought I knocked him out already. To be honest.
No, back to the middle of the ring, gentlemen. You guys are falling out of the ropes.
Saved by the rough. Look, the bottom line is though, and I will say this about anything. There's two things I hate, and I don't care if it's UFOs or Bigfoot or any other conspiratorial, science out there. Number one, do me a favor, anyone who's listening to this and anyone who's getting ready to do a documentary, do not tease until the very end of your film, show, whatever. We've got the proof coming up next. First off, I'm going to have a hard time sitting through that. Secondly, if your proof at the end of that is just this little bitty thing that says, we're pretty sure what it's not, you've wasted my time, you wasted your viewers' time, you wasted everyone's time altogether. You want to tease something, then have it. And you know what? Do me a favor. This is the second point. Show it at the beginning of your film and then work backwards. Because that, to me, has a lot more of a stance of then proving it, saying, here's the proof, this is what we saw. Now we're going to show you why it's real. Now we're going to tell you why we think this is the smoking gun. Most documentaries don't do that. And I hope.
So you're talking about like every Bigfoot show on the Travel Channel?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Where it's like, spoiler alert, they don't find Bigfoot this week.
Yeah, or the Ghost Hunters or anything else that's, and I'm not saying Ghost Hunters specifically as a show because I don't want to be hit with a lawsuit, but I am saying anyone who's hunting that, don't save it for the end. Show it up front and say, this is what we saw. And then tell me why. Like, how did that happen? But anytime someone leads or that's their pitch or you go into that, that's why, again, I got to give it a little bit up to Moment of Contact or whatever that was. Here's what happened. Now we're going to try to find the people that were involved in it. That's what I want to see. You telling me that
put the best stuff up front and then work backwards.
Yeah. Skinwalker Ranch. All I'm saying.
Yeah. Where we know the best stuff isn't making it on the screen.
Yeah, or whatever the case may be. Like, just, don't do that. And definitely, Jason, for you, definitely don't say. Just went out there for a second. Sorry about that. But definitely don't say, I've got this, I just can't tell you. Then don't tell me. Don't do that to me.
Well, no, you asked. You said, well, there's no. I said, no, there is evidence. I just can't. I said it's going. And the problem is, a lot of this evidence is going to show that it's not, that the Bigfoot phenomenon is not what it appears to be.
Right,
in a lot of cases.
Again, fantastic. But if you cannot speak on it, that's what I'm saying for people who sit there and say that. Too many times this is why you don't have as many believers around this community, is because it's like, well, we can't show you, but it's there. We can't do this, but it's coming up. We can't do this. Buy my book and it'll show you how it's done. It's either there or not. Are you trying to make money or are you actually trying to help and discuss something going forward? That's what I want to see.
Well,
you're trying to make money,
okay, hold on. No, I agree. No, so here's the thing. I completely agree with you. And again, I think one of the big problems that we have in this community is that a lot of people are here to make money, right? Just straight up.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? They're grifting. But here's my problem, right? We've got evidence of all kinds of weird crap in the world. that's out there, and people are saying, hey, here's the science, here's the stuff that shows you that stuff's real.
Did
guess
you
what?
leave some beef jerky and some peanut brittle? What did you just show us? What is that?
It's a copy of the London Hammer. It's
Hi. Explain what the London Hammer is.
I'm
to those
about
of us who are
to
following.
if you give me 30 seconds. The London Hammer, which again, most of the viewers are probably familiar with, it was a hammer that was found in London, Texas, in a riverbed. It is embedded in rock that is conventionally dated to over 200 million years old. It does not rust because the metal seems to be bonded with chlorine, creating a ferrous oxide coating, at least, of the hammer itself. The clamshells that it was found, that was part of the matrix it was found in, again, are dated, or supposedly dated, to over 200 million years old. This you can go and see the real one at the Creation Evidence Museum in Biloxi, Texas. No one will address it. See, this is the problem. There is evidence for a lot of things out there. It gets put out there, and everyone's like, well, it's not real. It just gets dismissed. No one even addresses it. So here's my problem. There's tons of evidence. Again, the Bigfoot thing. You said, well, they don't have scat. No, we have scat of something. And we don't know what, we can't say that it came out of a Bigfoot because we didn't watch it drop that deuce. Okay. But we know that it doesn't meet it's not scat from any other known creature. Okay. Hold on.
Two Bigfoots, one cup. Like,
yeah, two Bigfoots, one cup. Yeah.
I'm not watching that, man.
Two big
There's
feet.
a video of my reaction to that video out there somewhere in the interwebs.
2 big feet, 1 cup.
My live reaction.
Yeah.
I wish I would have recorded Jason's live reaction when I pulled that on him.
I still hate you.
He was kind of mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you really pull that on him?
Yes,
yeah,
he did.
I did.
Yes, he did.
Oh yeah.
This
Sure
pure
did.
Christian man right here, you're gonna defile his eyes like that?
I had
Jeez.
no problem doing it. Didn't even think twice, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, hey,
No,
you gotta
no,
watch this. You know, for like in the first day. To be fair, he was like, "This is not something I watch." I was like, "Nah, just let it keep going. You're fine." And yeah, got him.
That was mean.
Oh,
It's
not the meanest thing I've ever done to this man.
It's not
even
no, like,
not
that's
even
like,
close.
Not even close.
Yeah,
not
that was
the
actually
worst.
mild.
Yeah. There's a lot. But my point, so hold on, my point being, again, there is physical evidence for Bigfoot that
There's
is
physical
observed.
evidence that it's not human. Stop saying for Bigfoot.
Well,
There's
hold
physical
on.
human.
Hold on. I'm not saying what Bigfoot is, but that there is a phenomena of a physical bipedal creature that people and that the stuff that we see matches what people are describing. I'm not saying that it's an ape or it's a human or it's a fursona or that it's or that, to Donnie's point, perhaps they're aliens from Zeta Reticuli that just got lost, right? I'm not saying what they are. What I'm saying is there is a phenomena that needs to be explored, and there's physical evidence showing that there's at least the possibility for something to be out there. And again, I said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're all supernatural, and that when they come into this field, Dean has said this, perhaps when a supernatural being comes into our reality to take physicality, it becomes biological because that's what you have to do to exist in our world, which means it does take a dump in the woods, and it does like to eat pigs from time to time. Maybe that's just the case. And that's why they it's not that there's a different phenomenon over here and a different phenomenon over here. Maybe it's all the same phenomena, just depending on what stage of materialization that it's in. But the point is, but my point is, but you're saying there's no evidence. I'm saying there is evidence of something.
Yes, but you cannot say of Bigfoot. Sorry, you cannot, because you don't have. When you say Bigfoot, the implication is, we know what Bigfoot is, and we know what their cellular structure is like.
No. That's not how that works. You phenomena is given a name and said, look, this is the phenomena. This is the name. It doesn't mean you've described it scientifically. It just means this is what we're seeing. This is the class we're putting in. You don't just say unknown thing 1. That's not how that works.
That's exactly how that works. That's exactly what we do. The scientist science as a whole, that's what they're doing. It's unknown until it's known.
Right. It's not described, but it's like, hey, we found a bird. We see birds on this island. Okay, great. it's given a name until at such point as it's found, located, observed, and a body is obtained, so it can be tested and then given a true scientific name. No one with any credibility is giving a scientific name to the phenomena. But what we have is closely associated evidence, physical effects on the universe around us, closely associated with sightings of a creature matching a description that is not that dissimilar from fossil records that we have of primates. It is given a colloquial name, and it's being examined. No one is saying that we know what it is, only that the phenomena exists, and we're trying to research it. But you're saying if it's not scientifically documented, meaning that we have a corpus delicti, and until we have all that, we can't even give it a name.
I am saying
that's absurd.
No, it's not absurd.
Your face is absurd.
You cannot give that and say this is proof of Bigfoot. This is proof of something. I will accept that. I absolutely will accept that. But proof of an existence of a creature known as Bigfoot, it's a stretch. It is a stretch. Donnie, am I wrong? I mean, what do you think?
I think it all boils down to what you would define as proof, or what constitutes proof, or what you would count as proof. Because I think a lot of this is people disagreeing on the very notion of the basic concept of what proof even is, or what would count.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of that in this community. So I don't know. I agree with both you guys. I'm gonna.
Oh, don't puss out on this. No.
I think you gotta pick a winner on this.
Yeah,
Donnie, you gotta pick a winner, buddy.
No, you pick a side. You pick a side right now.
You gotta pick a winner on this one, my friend.
Man, I don't care about proving Bigfoot, man. I just want to know how to kill it. That's all I want to know.
I think Donnie's.
I'm not the guy to ask for this.
I think Donnie has spoken.
I just wanted to know what their weakness is, where to find them, and how do we get rid of every last one of them, man, woman, and child. That's all I care about.
My God, Anakin over here trying to take down the entire tribe.
Yep. And for the rest of that conversation, go over to Donnie Cho Says Stuff. This episode should be premiering after this one, so give it a few minutes. Go give it a like and a follow. Paco, thank you for coming on the show.
You can say Ray. I've got Ray on the name tag. It's fine.
You notice I don't have the name tags up?
Oh, that's true. I don't care. Ray, Paco.
You outed yourself.
I don't care, man.
I was using your nom de plume. Okay, so Ray, thank you for coming on. Donnie, thank you for refereeing
not picking a side.
Not picking a side.
What a good ref does.
No, that's not what he does. No. He picks the winner.
He picks the winner.
No, the judges pick the winner. The people at home are the judges. I am simply the ref. I'm just here.
All right. Okay. So read the comments on this.
Yeah. All right. So everyone, go into the comments and tell Ray why he's very, very wrong. Anyway, again, we're gonna have Ray back unless y'all all hate him. But we'll probably bring him back for some other thing. And who knows, he may pop over on Donnie Cho Says Stuff because he likes pineapple pizza more than I do. Like, follow, and subscribe. Share the show out. You know the drill. We'll see y'all next time. Be good. Why won't the button go? I'm clicking.